Hey guys, this is Daniel.
I'm Matthew, and we are that
That damn
damn brand.
Brent.
We're never gonna get that right unless it's in person.
Nope, but I'm okay with that.
Yep. Well, once again, we're coming to you after a seemingly long hiatus. We've been kind of busy recently. Got a few things we want to cover and discuss in this episode, but we'll go ahead and start by saying that Daniel got a new monitor. Let's tell us a little bit about it.
Oh yeah, so I got the Acer Predator X34. It's a curved, ultra-wide 34-inch monitor, 2K, and I have to say I'm really loving it. Biggest complaint right now of it so far is actually the support for it in terms of games. A lot of the games that I've been playing recently do not support it. Overwatch refuses to support it because they say it's a competitive advantage, which is bullshit because if anything, the competitive advantage is frame rate, but I digress. Dauntless, unfortunately, doesn't support it either. Actually, it hurts the game if you make it stretch out beyond the 10 by or 9 by 16 because then your mouse doesn't click where it should. So I've been playing that in windowed at 9 by 16. But on games that it does support, like Tomb Raider, it looks amazing. It's pretty awesome. In my opinion, the pre-rendered cutscenes looked worse than the actual in-game like rendering from the gameplay. The
Which
lighting,
is crazy.
yeah, the lighting was awesome. The snow from like the opening scene looked amazing. It's legit. Maybe I'm just not used to this caliber of graphics, but I'm really loving it.
That's awesome. It seems really cool, but yeah, unfortunately, it seems also that you fall into the trap of the early adopter. Anytime the like new technology hits and people get it, there's not a lot of support for it. There's not, yeah, I guess support's probably the best word. Yeah, they just,
Yeah, it's support. You need to hit the mainstream, and it's not mainstream.
yeah. So while you do have the top of the line shit, unfortunately, it's not mainstream, so it doesn't have the support.
I'm looking forward to when it becomes mainstream.
Yeah, because then you're gonna be like, I've had this shit for however many years. Get off my lawn.
Well, by then I'd move on to whatever's next. But yeah.
Well, well, yeah, but you'll be on the next thing, and then people this is coming the norm, and you're gonna be like, get off my lawn because I'm on this other lawn. Yeah. We also got a couple of new toys. We got the Lucid Sound LS30 gaming headsets that we picked up at PAX South. So that's what we're using to record this episode.
I'm hoping my audio sounds better than it did before.
I mean, from the test, it seems like it did. So, if you guys have an issue or something, let us know. But yeah, we'll talk about the headset more in a little while. But the biggest thing we have to talk about is PAX South. But before we get to PAX South, there's currently a Destiny 2 problem, I guess, going around. Do you want to bring that up?
Sure. So Destiny 2 has been throttling tokens for factions, I believe, right?
Faction Rally, yeah.
Faction rally. So a lot of people are upset because they didn't announce that they were doing this. They addressed an issue of like people farming at ridiculous rates, but in my opinion, the people who are complaining, and when they explain what they're doing, they're just fast traveling to different what do they call it, lost regions or
Lost Sectors.
lost sectors? That's right. They're just fast traveling to different sectors and farming, and after a while they were noticing they stopped getting tokens, which I think is BS because they're farming the way how else would you farm them?
Right.
I know it's to stop a bigger problem, but once again they dropped the ball on how to address something.
Kind of like with the XP throttling that they were doing, and they
And
probably still are doing.
yeah, and locking out of people out of the base game when the expansion released.
Yeah, that's super ridiculous. But so for the faction rally token thing, for those that aren't aware, the way it works in Destiny 2 is for faction rally is once you pledge a faction or whatever, you go around and complete missions and certain actions that you do, you get tokens. And so the old farming method, I can speak to this because I actually did use it. I'm not going to say I abused it because there's no way that I consider it abuse if it's a legitimate thing that's in the game. But the way it worked was there's a specific lost sector in, I think it was the EDZ, the European Dead Zone, or I think that's what it's called.
Yeah,
EDZ. Yeah, yeah.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's a specific lost sector in the EDZ where you would go in, run through, kill all the enemies, kill the boss, and then there's a chest. And when you open the chest, the first time you open the chest, you get, armor, weapons, the random loot drops. But you also got one token, or I think it was one to. The first time you did, I think it was three tokens, but then farming after that was only one. Anyway, so you open the chest, and then you turn around and jump up into the exit essentially. And what you would do is you would run out the exit until the little loading screen type text came on the right hand side to say that it was loading the next area, and then you would just turn around and run back the way you came, and the door that I guess is supposed to lock you out didn't lock, so you could just go back through the door, jump down, open the chest again. You wouldn't get the loot drops, but you would get a token.
I would call that abuse.
Well, anyway, so you would go and get the token, then turn around, run back out, wait for the text to pop up, turn back around, go back down, get the token. So essentially, you could get a shitload of these faction rally tokens in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, it's still, to me, it's considered a grind or a farm because, I mean, you're not playing the game, you're just in there doing this fucking thing, going back and forth, turn around, grab it, turn it, over and over. And so it seems like, I don't know, it was a pain in the ass. And I only did it because I wanted a shitload of the shaders, which was another underlying issue of Destiny 2. But that was the reason why I did it. And so I did it, I think I ended up with like 400 something of the new monarchy tokens. And I traded those in for a bunch of shit so I could get a lot of shaders. And I'm glad I did it. But now, with the way that they changed it, they essentially, patched it or tried to fix it or whatever by making it so that you can only get I think it's two chests. You can only open two chests within 10 minutes. So if you open a chest without waiting that 10-minute sit out time, then you don't get any more tokens. And so that's kind of the way to put a stop to this quote unquote abuse of these tokens.
I feel that while I do consider that abuse myself, the way they went about doing it is stupid because it penalizes the people who are doing it legitimately.
Well, yeah, so if there are people that out there that are legitimately doing it, then kudos to them.
Well,
But
that brings to the point that I wanted to bring up. The fact that there is no end game in Destiny is why people are just farming stupid stuff like that because there's nothing else to do in the game.
mhm.
I see no reason to play Destiny beyond beating the story and then like maybe beating each Strike and Leviathan, which we still haven't done.
Yeah, the raids and the nightfalls, that sort of thing.
Yeah, once because all you do is grind a higher number. I just don't feel like there's any reason to grind to a higher number. There's nothing like once I already beat it, why am I grinding to get the best gear? I already won.
Yeah, true.
There's no end game that's like super hard like in other type of games with grinds where you want to grind your weapon or grind your gear to get like maybe harder difficulty or even like the super legendary weapon that you can only get through this area. Like they don't have that. It's just grinding a number.
Yeah, I mean, you can get essentially any of the exotics from Ingrams and stuff, so
Right, I don't see a goal. Like I don't see like in other games like let's say you wanted that mythic weapon that's locked behind the super boss that has like a chance. You would grind other gear to make that fight easier.
so that you could turn around and grind the boss for what you really want.
Right.
Yeah,
There's no reason to grind in this game unless you really want to be one of the people that are like I have a 320 or whatever the max is at this point.
350, but yeah.
Like I don't give a shit. I beat the game. I beat the raids, the strikes. I'm sorry, I haven't beat the raid yet, which I do want to go back and do. I do want to beat the raid. But once I beat the raid, I'll be happy. I'll be like, okay, I beat all the content in the game. There's nothing for me to stick around for until the next expansion that provides 2 hours worth of story.
Yeah, if
which
that
is which is another issue that I had. Like with all these people talking about Destiny 1, I don't see what makes Destiny so great. But I guess that's why their fan base is turning on them because maybe Destiny 1 was great and Destiny 2 is such a letdown.
That's pretty much what I've heard. I've heard that, all the changes they've made to Destiny 2 from 1 have made it a lot worse. Well, my friend specifically, and he's played with us a few times, Eric, he played the shit out of Destiny 1, and he was saying that they changed so much shit that it's like completely different now, and that's one of the reasons why people are outcrying and, like you said, turning on them.
Yeah, I know the PvP used to like how we were talking initially in one of our previous podcasts. I was saying the PvP reminded me a lot of about Halo, how it was about team shotting and BR and stuff. Apparently, that's not how Destiny 1 worked, and they're actually working on a way to fix it so that it's not like that. And I was like, wow, that's interesting because I thought they would make it like Halo since they are the developers of Halo, but
I mean, maybe they're just trying to separate themselves a little bit.
yeah. So, but what I'm trying to say is, yeah, like even the PvP, which is what people really played, isn't what it was before. A lot of people are complaining that it's about team shotting now, and that's not how they play it, how Destiny 1 played out to be.
Yeah, which is something that neither you or I can speak to since we didn't play the first one. But
Correct. This is all just articles I've seen online.
mhm.
But if Bungie ever hears this before if they even fix Bungie or fix Destiny, add an endgame. I gave you $100. Add a fucking endgame.
Yeah, don't lock the weapons that are supposed to be like pre-orders, bonuses, whatever, behind having to finish the fucking campaign. Because at that point, the fucking sword is useless. Like, what is the fucking point of that? God damn
Yeah,
it.
I remember I got the sword and I just
You're like,
turned it into legendary crystals.
yeah, you're like, whoop-de-fucking do. I don't need this shit anymore. If I had this like, 5 light levels or power levels ago or whatever, it would have been cool. Now it's like I already have I have a blue sword that's better than this fucking purple, you know?
Yeah.
Like, God, I don't care about this, assholes. But yeah, so Destiny 2 has a lot of issues. We could probably do an entire podcast just talking about that. So I feel like unless you have something else to add, we should probably move on.
No, I feel the same way. Just hit them, say, fix your fucking game, and then move on.
Yeah, that should be like the tagline. Just Destiny 2, fix your fucking game. Anyway, all right. So now we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes, and I hope this doesn't make the podcast run super super long. But we had the opportunity to go to PAX South here in San Antonio, and it was, I believe, both of our first gaming. Well, my second gaming con because I went to E3 in 2010, and I don't know how many cons you've been to, but definitely our first gaming con together. So, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it lived up past my expectations. When I found out that it was going to be indie, I was kind of disappointed. I'm not one for indie games, let's be honest. But after I was there, I tried out some of the games. I realized that indie games can be a little bit more fun than just the shitty ones that I played before.
Yeah, because indie games have a reputation of being like underdeveloped, underfunded. They kickstarts, they get like $1 million, and then they use like 20,000 to produce a demo, and then just laugh their way to the bank with the rest of the money.
And then I have a bad experience myself with H-Hour, which I threw $500 towards that project since I was such a huge Soulcom fan, and shit has been produced. Like they have a game on Steam, and I have it, but it's garbage.
Yeah,
Uh,
hot garbage.
yeah.
I remember you being like super excited about it, like when it was first announced, and you're like, yeah, you should support this game. It's by the guy that made SOCOM. I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. And now it's like you could give a shit less.
Well, because he left like through like a quarter of the way through the development, but that's a whole other story that I can get into that we shouldn't, because I
Okay.
can go on. So we got to play some really cool games. We got to play Black Ice,
Wait,
and
well, I was gonna say Black Ice, which we'll cover more on the website in the future.
yes, and also we got to play Knights of the Drown Table, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, my experience was not quite as enjoyable, but again, that's something we actually covered on the site recently. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go to thatdamnbrand.com and read our impressions of Knights of the Drowned. But so Knights of the Drowned is a VR game that's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but the demo is very limited because since they're an indie dev, they wanted to get as much people into the booth and trying the game as they possibly could. So it's limited compared to the full release. Or right now, I think it's in early access. Is it? Is it in early
Yes,
access?
it's early access.
Yeah. So right now it's on early access on Steam. So yeah, that version of the game is different than what we played, but it was fun. I'll say that much. It was fun when I did get to play.
I enjoyed it. I once I figured out the mechanic that they took out, I was kind of disappointed that they didn't leave it in, but I understand why they did it.
Yeah, because
Not
like I said, they need to get a lot of people in and out. I mean,
right.
we still so we hit up the originally we hit up that game. I think it was Saturday
Yeah,
afternoon.
because the Saturday passes were.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon, and we were standing in line and everything. But then we saw kids there or whatever that only had Saturday passes, so we let them cut in front of us. And so by the time that we were getting ready to play the game again, the expo hall was closing. So we were like, yeah, you know what, we'll come back tomorrow. But we got some FaceTime with the developer, and got to talk to him for a little bit. His name is Billy Ross, and the studio is Really Boss Studios. And then so we finally got a chance to play it on Sunday. I think it was afternoon or something like that, or maybe in the
Yeah, it
morning.
was in the afternoon. It was like right about when we were supposed to leave. I think it was the last thing we did.
Okay, yeah, but we finally were able to get our hands on it and play it for a little bit, so it was cool.
I enjoyed it. I am really look. I really want to check out the full version and actually play through a level and not just a boss fight. And I granted, we have fun there. I would really love to see this game grow like it says it's going to.
Yeah, and the one of the things that they're touting for it is I think it was five-player co-op. So the
Six
PAX,
player.
pretty sure it's five, but
It's five friends,
well, any hoodles.
which would be
Five,
six players.
five or six players. Anyway, that's more than two, which is the point I was making. Is that in PAX we were limited to two, so being able to play with, more than, let's just say more than four, being able to play with more than four co-op in a D&D kind of RPG style game seems like it'd be a lot of fun in virtual reality.
Yeah, beating the shit out of things.
Yeah. And then another game that we stood in line and played is Dauntless,
Oh,
which,
you're right. It is five player.
yeah, see,
I just looked up.
I'm smart. So, yeah, but like I was saying, another game that we stood in line and played was Dauntless, which is I didn't really
Ooh, I didn't
know
even know why I didn't bring that up.
what Dauntless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a list, that's why. So, yeah, like I didn't honestly know much about Dauntless until going in, but it had actually had one of the bigger booths there at the show. The biggest booth I think was the Monster Hunter World because it had this huge ass fucking dragon. Like,
And a store.
well, yeah, they had their own store too, but I mean, I think that because that was just like the Capcom section because Monster Hunter
Yeah,
World
because they
is a
have the
Capcom
games.
game, and
Yeah.
then they had like the big ass Monster Hunter World booth with like I don't know how many setups they had going, but they had a decent amount of setups. With like, every day was a long ass fucking line. They had this huge ass fucking dragon, and on the other side there was a merch store or whatever, and on the very back they had Dead Rising 4, I think is what it was, and Street Fighter 5, and I don't know whatever. I can't remember the other game. I think it was Resident Evil 7, maybe something like that. Anyway, just random Capcom games, but they were in the back, and it was kind of like, okay, cool. Getting back to Dauntless, yeah, I didn't really know much about the game when I first got there, but apparently it's sort of a Monster Hunter World clone or homage or
Inspired.
ripoff,
I want to say
inspired.
rip off.
I'm just, and just kind of generally spitballing words here, but and not having played any of the Monster Hunter games, I can't honestly say how similar it is. But just from talking to the developers, I mean, they name dropped Monster Hunter themselves. But that game, Daniel and I and Josh have been playing the closed beta because after standing in line and playing the game, they actually gave you a code for the closed beta, and it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. Daniel, you said it's kind of like Dark Souls-y.
The combat's very Dark Soulsy in how you evade and you have to manage your stamina. Certain when you attack, you commit or you get hit.
Yeah, kind of like if you choose to attack while they're, in the middle of getting ready to do something, you committed, like you're gonna attack, and so that more than likely means you're gonna get hit, you're gonna get punished. So you have to kind of choose when to attack and when to play defensively.
You can't get greedy,
Yeah, it's kind of like you got to get in, get a couple hits, get back out before you get hit, and this.
which I'm still having a problem with myself. I tend to get a little too greedy.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us, man. But
But yeah, it's been a good game. I've been enjoying it. Been playing it a lot. This is definitely a game that I'm happy to have found in the early stages because I want to see how it grows and how it changes. You know, kind of like Warframe in a few years. How's it gonna look?
yeah, and see, that was going to be the point I was going to make, is that it reminds me of Warframe in the sense that you get teleported to the, level via a ship, and it almost looks like the same kind of animation, whereas Warframe, the ship drops you off and you like just kind of land and then get up. It's very similar in that way. And then also, uh, at the end of the mission, it shows you your rewards and stuff. Because I played Warframe like 2 weeks after it dropped on Steam when it was very basic and very just kind of lacking in a lot of features and very repetitive. And so Dauntless currently in the stage reminds me of that in that it doesn't have a lot to do, but I know that just like Warframe, it has the potential to grow if they just, spend the time and I ultimately money or whatever developing it and making it something awesome. I know it can be. So yeah, definitely Warframe was one of the comparisons I was going to make in terms of its potential and, a few slight mechanics type thing, I guess, or animations maybe. It also seemed when, just first kind of walking around, it reminded me of PSO. I think that's what we said when we first looked at it, right?
Yeah, I thought it was like a PSO type a game,
I was
and
I was
the developer
initially
disagreed.
yeah, I was initially disappointed because I could have swore that I saw like a bow and arrow or something like in the art or maybe just in passing. I mean, I would have been willing to bet money that there was an archer or something in the game,
Well,
and there wasn't. So I was
something I
disappointed by
haven't talked
that.
to, well, I haven't talked to you about Dauntless since we last played it, but I have been creeping on the forums, and they have confirmed that they are working on a ranged weapon.
Well, good. I mean, the chain blades. I mean, you mean like a just completely ranged, like no melee?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Because I was gonna say I currently like to use the chain blades, which do have range, but they're not. I wouldn't consider them a ranged weapon because
Right.
you can get in close and still do damage. But
I agree with you. It has range, but it's not a ranged weapon.
yeah,
They are working on a ranged weapon, and I'm interested on how they're gonna work that in, considering
it
you
is.
can't allow them to play. You can't allow someone to play safe in that type of game.
Well, yeah, and yeah, that doesn't. It doesn't fit the style of game for there to be a ranged weapon. I mean, I was disappointed that it didn't, but yeah, now that I've played the game, yeah, if you're just gonna stand in the back and shoot arrows or something at it, and then you can just constantly dodge it, the monster's attack, the behemoth or whatever.
But who knows? Maybe the newer monsters will have attacks that shoot at range. So if you're,
Yeah,
they
well, so what the only thing I can imagine is maybe the wind up or whatever of the bow, takes long. So you have to kind of pull it back and there's the animation of you actually pulling the arrow in the bow and you have to hold it for a certain amount of time to get the most amount of power. And so during that whole committing of, notching the arrow, putting it in, pulling it back, waiting, that's ultimately anywhere between 0 and 10 seconds, you're probably going to get hit. I'm thinking that's the only way that I can think of to make it seem like not OP or yeah,
right,
that sort of thing.
and they can also add attacks to the current monsters to compensate for range.
Yeah, maybe
Right.
it's maybe something where if you're standing in place for too long, it auto targets you or something. I'm still not sure.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure they'll figure something out, and that's probably why they didn't execute it to initially. But they have confirmed ranged weapons are coming.
Well, that's cool. My initial disappointment will go away.
But yeah, I've been enjoying the game. How you're saying that it's the same thing over and over, and it kind of is. I believe the grind between the levels are too long, but I guess that's all they have right now, so they have to.
Yeah, yeah.
I do like how they at each level there are new monsters, and this is just not the same monsters at higher, harder difficulties. And the monsters that are repeated do have new attacks. So for instance, the beaver. I thought the beaver was one of the easiest ones on the what they call tier 1, what the community calls tier 2. And now that I'm fighting tier 2, what the community calls tier 3, the beaver, and that one's one of the hardest ones because I use an axe. It's slow. The beaver is a lot faster, and his attacks are faster. I like how they do mix it up and how a different strategy is used even on the same monster. It has to be used even if it's the same monster.
And I understand that they gave them new attacks and stuff. The only thing I was thinking that might make it cooler is elementals. The lightning, fire, and ice, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know this because I'm not the same tier as you now. You're higher than me, but maybe the monsters as you get to the next tier suddenly like their elements change or something. Do you know if that's a thing?
I don't know if that's a thing, and
Because
that would
like
be interesting too because then you can't match
yeah,
elements with yeah.
exactly. That's kind of what I was getting at. So maybe tier three or tier four or tier four, tier five, whichever based on whatever set you use. Maybe for those higher tiers, the monster's elements change, and so you get used to fighting the beaver, and he's non-elemental, and then the next tier, bam, he suddenly has ice powers or lightning or fire, and you're like, shit, I just learned the pattern for this, and now he has this extra element that adds to the danger, and so suddenly, the fight's a lot harder. That's something I could see them doing. I don't know if they're going to, but that would be cool, I think.
Yeah, that would be. Luckily, I use a neutral weapon, so
Yeah, well, you
I
can.
know some people will match. Yeah,
Well, I was gonna say you can customize different things. You can make one axe that's the elements, one neutral, that sort of thing, and then just
but you
change
can't
it.
change after load after once
Well,
you
right,
launch. You're
right,
committed,
right.
which is another thing I like.
Yeah, because if you could change your loadout during the middle of a fight, it would be probably a lot easier.
Yeah,
But you'll probably be hearing a lot more about Dauntless from us in the future, so we don't want to drag on for too long on that. But it is a fun
yeah.
game.
We plan
Um,
on streaming, and we have some codes to give away for people who want to get into the closed beta.
yeah, but we'll cover that again um, in the future.
Yes.
But so more on PAX South. We took a lot of pictures of cosplay. Like there was a lot of people that had some really awesome costumes at PAX South. If you haven't already seen it on the website, we posted all of well, we initially took all the pictures and posted them on Instagram, and then I turned around and gathered all that information from Instagram and made a single post on the website. But I would say, and I'm sure you probably agree with me, that Overwatch pretty much dominated cosplay. Do you think that's correct?
That is, and I was kind of disappointed by that. I love the game, but I wish there was more
Well,
other things.
so I mean, there was more, but it just felt like every other side you turned, there was an Overwatch
No, that's what I'm
cosplay.
saying. Yeah, like it was like maybe 25%.
Yeah, which out of the amount of cosplays are there is it's really high percentage. And what's funny to me too is that people, they consider themselves cosplay just from wearing like tracer pants or something. Like, yeah, look, I'm cosplaying. I'm like, not so much. Those are the ones we didn't take pictures of. The ones we took pictures of are the people that you could tell put their like heart and soul into it, and they wanted to, try and look as closely to these characters as they could. But I really enjoyed the cosplay. That was a highlight for me, especially the
Yeah,
ones the ones that did look good.
I enjoyed the Mercy from the first day.
Like one of the first ones we saw.
Yeah, the first one we saw. I think it was the first Overwatch one, or first cosplay we saw in general.
It might have been the McCree first and then Mercy, but I'll have to
Okay.
I'll have to go and look at my pictures and see what the order
Yeah,
was. But yeah, yeah, that one was a good one.
I thought she was the best Mercy the whole weekend.
One of those witch mercies was good. I don't remember.
Yes, I forgot about her.
I was like, I don't remember that one, but
Maybe it's because I like the other skin better than the witch skin.
everyone's biased in one way or the other.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of my personal favorite, probably still in it, and I'm very biased with this, are the Predators we saw, but that's because I know the people that made the costumes. So, but I mean, everyone that has seen it has said that those costumes are badass. Like Machinima had a video on cosplay of PAX South, and the Predator costumes are one of the highlights. So
No Uganda knuckles.
he does not know the way. Yeah. Enough about cosplay, I guess. Unless you had something else you wanted to add.
Nope.
Okay. So then we also made some
Just
purchases this weekend. I got the Symmetra Pop from I think it was Glitch Gaming booth or Glitch Apparel, something like that.
yeah, glitch gaming.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I got the last Symmetra Pop that was there. Like I was on the fence. I was kind of like, I want that, but I don't know. And then I think it was Daniel was like, like how many of those do you have left? And they said it was the last one. So I'm like, nope. You know what? I'm buying it. I want that. So I got the Symmetra Pop, and then he turned around and got the Winston Pop, which is like, God, how much bigger would you say than a regular pop it is?
I would say it's probably like twice the size, like if you stack them on top of each other.
Yeah, yeah, that Winston Pop is pretty substantial. Um, and then Daniel actually purchased the Gears of War, was it 4 Lancer?
4. Yeah.
Yeah, Gears of War 4 Gold Lancer that they had on display. And tell him the story about the Overwatch pistols or whatever too.
Oh, those Overwatch pistols. So they had 3 Diva pistols and a Mercy pistol. And I really wanted the Mercy pistol. So I asked them how much the Mercy pistol was. They said they wouldn't sell it. And then, we started talking about the Gears rifle. We leave maybe for like 2 hours. Not even a long time.
Right. I think we
Then
went to like just go charge our phones or something and come back.
Yeah, and then I was like, all right, I really wanted the Mercy pistol. I really wanted the Gears Lancer. So I came back down with the proposition of being like, hey, I'll buy that $150 Lancer off you if you sell me the pistol. And then the pistols are gone. I'm like, hey, what happened to the pistols? Like, oh, we sold them. I'm like, but you guys told me that you weren't gonna sell them. Yeah, my boss changed his mind. Sorry. So I asked them how much the portal gun would cost because they also had a portal gun.
Mm-hmm.
He said they weren't selling it, and I'm like, "Are you sure, man? This you guys told me earlier."
Yeah, that was really funny. But his disappointment could be audibly heard. Like when the like, really? You sold them? You told me you weren't gonna sell them, and that dude was kind of like shrugging his shoulders, like, well, sorry, bro. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess Daniel decided that he wasn't gonna take a chance this next time, and so he was like, yeah, I'll buy the Gold Lancer.
So it's Glitch Gaming apparel. It is.
Okay, yeah. So Glitch Gaming Apparel. So he decided that he was gonna buy the Gold Lancer, and he didn't want to carry it around the show floor like all day Friday and stuff. And they wanted to keep it on display, so they kind of agreed that they were gonna keep it out on display until Sunday night or whatever when we were getting ready to leave. What?
Ye-
Go ahead.
Apparently they have another Gold Lancer. They have it on their site.
Well, but that was the only one they had at the
At PAX.
convention. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what's funny is that people apparently after the fact people were going up and they were getting pissed because they wanted to buy the Gold Lancer and it was already for sale. So people were like, "Why the hell do you have it on display?" It'd almost be like displaying the Overwatch pistols, even though you're saying you're not gonna sell them, but they're already sold. Like, bastards.
Yeah, what I thought was funny was when I went back down there was a guy about to buy it, and he decided again. He was looking at his bank account, and then he decided against it. I don't know if he was planning to come back, but as soon as that was pretty much my thing. Like, I'll let him make his decision. If he doesn't buy it, I'm taking it. And the way I actually bought it was like, hey, that thing that he didn't buy, taking.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he regretted that decision.
Well, I do remember on the way out, like on Sunday, I heard somebody saying like I should have bought it or something, and he was definitely looking at you and then Lance. 'Cause I think he had just asked you like, is that from Gears or something? And then he was like, oh, I should have bought it. But we don't know if I don't know if it's the same guy. It could have just been like maybe he saw it on display and then he regrets the fact that he didn't get it now because Daniel has it. But he definitely got some salty looks when we were carrying it on Sunday on the way out.
Yeah, I couldn't see them because there was a huge box blocking my face, but that's what I was told.
Yeah, me and Josh kept looking around, and people were looking over and seeing him carrying that big ass Lancer box, and they're just kind of like salty as hell. It was actually kind of funny. I think it was kind of funny. Yeah, and then as we mentioned at the start of this episode, we also bought the Lucid Sound LS30 gaming headsets, and we haven't used them enough to make too much of a judgment. But what I will say is badass is we figured out. I mean, it's not hard, but we got it set up to where you can adjust the audio from your computer slash game slash movie, etc., and your voice chat separately. So I can turn Daniel down and turn the game up, or turn the game down and turn Daniel up, whatever suits your needs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I really like that. It's I don't know, like this is the first time I'm using it. I unboxed it solely for this podcast because I wanted to come clear through, so I can't say on the gaming, but the fact that I can control my audio separately is awesome because there are some times that you want to hear someone's voice over the audio, vice versa, call outs and stuff.
Yeah, that's why I get annoyed sometimes when we're playing because you're saying something and I can't fucking hear you, but now I can turn the damn game down and I'll be able to hear you.
I'm pretty excited to see how this affects the gameplay, and just the fact that the speaker quality. I'm curious how that is. It's a $150 headset that we got for $80 because of their selling. That was the sell at PAX.
Yeah, yeah. So these headphones originally retail for like 150 on their site, and we got them for 80 because of PAX. I think that's influenced my decision for sure. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I wouldn't have bought them if they were 150 because I don't know the brand. I don't, I can get another wireless headset from like Razer or something for 150. It
Yeah,
definitely influenced my decision,
yeah.
but we'll see if it pays off. Too soon to tell.
I mean, I think so far so good because I have been using them for a couple of days. Game audio sounds fine. The headset microphone works great actually. Just, Daniel said he unboxed it for this podcast. I can hear a difference immediately with his Logitech wired headset. It sounded like he was in a wind tunnel or something. His voice sounds a lot clearer to me anyway. So hopefully it'll come through on the podcast that way as well. Yeah. I, so I'm trying to think what else PAX South related. We ate on the Riverwalk. We had some drinks some days. We attended panels.
Some drinks.
Well, you know. Eventually, there's also going to be videos. I need to get them off my phone. I just haven't got around to it yet. But from the Mariachi Entertainment System concert on Friday night.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I was actually talking to my mom about it this morning, and I was telling her, I'm like, you wouldn't think that mariachi music and video games would match very well, but these guys killed it. Like they were fucking good. So, I'll have once I get those videos off my phone, we'll upload those to our YouTube page. You'll be able to check that out. Maybe I'll make a post about it on the website as well. Is there anything else you want to mention, PAX related? Because we covered the cosplay, the devs, games, what we bought.
Panels were good, but I don't think people want to hear about that.
Well, I mean, yeah, because we attended a couple streaming panels, which, I mean, if you want to give your input on that one, on
I thought the
those.
first one sucked and the second one was good.
Yeah,
um, More so than that, I guess more detail into it is the first one was kind of like an identity thing, but they really didn't talk about anything, in my opinion. They just like, oh, I'm an Irish chick, and that's my thing, and if that's not your thing, then that's not your thing. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks. The second one, I felt covered that in less time, in a more constructive way, and went into other things.
yeah, yeah. That's probably the best way of putting it. I felt like they were actually so the naming of the panels was Streaming 101 and Streaming 201 or something, and I don't remember what the subtitles were, but essentially they could have called them something else. Like I feel like those were misnomers because I've done a little bit of streaming, and we're getting Daniel set up so that he can do streaming too, and a lot of the initial setup I didn't know anything about. Like I had to have my friend Will help me out. Like things that they would mention in the panel, they didn't into any detail about, like setting up a bot or using really setting up and using a Discord. They like again they would mention it like, yeah, get your Discord set up, or blah blah blah, but they didn't say how and that sort of thing. Like get your mod team and blah blah blah. And like who the fuck is gonna have a mod team when they're just starting out? Like I understand you guys have mod teams because you've been streaming for X amount of time, but we're fucking just starting out. Like we're not gonna have a goddamn mod team. Are you serious? Like
Yeah, it was kind of dumb.
yeah, and I feel like there were things that they could have covered that they didn't. But again, the second panel was a lot more informative than the first one. But there were still things that they could have covered, especially in the first one. They could have covered a lot more. The way I described it was when the first panel was going on, I kept checking my phone, like how long have they been talking? Whereas the second one, I did that, but I did it less. I did it a lot more frequently in the first panel. So
Yeah, first panel, I checked my phone a lot too because I was just bored, and I'm like, this is useless. You're hitting the same points, and you're boring. Like honestly. The second panel, I felt not only did they cover what the first panel did in like 15 minutes, as opposed to the hour the first panel did, they went into other things which were more constructive and not just. I don't know. I felt the first panel kind of tooted their own horn a little bit too much.
yeah, with the whole Irish woman thing and Blasey they and yeah, yeah, and they acknowledge like their mod team in the audience. Like who the fuck cares?
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, and then one of the other panels we went to was game balance. I went into that. I wouldn't say super drunk, but definitely buzzed, and it was still interesting. Like,
I enjoyed it.
yeah, I thought that was a really interesting panel. And they mentioned all sorts of games. They didn't stick to just fighting games. They mentioned Overwatch and
And they mentioned how people's background affects balance too. How, if you have, they're talking about esports or any sport in general. You have someone who doesn't have a lot of money who can, like, who needs the work and they don't have time to play the games to become professional. While you have someone who's pampered, grew up with money, who doesn't need to worry about money, can sit down and play the game 12 hours a day, get good at it, and become a professional in it. I like how they hit that people's circumstances affects that kind of stuff because it's true.
hmm yeah, I think one of the examples of that was Dan from Street Fighter, right?
Yeah, well, that was more about that was a different one. That was talking about how characters need to be balanced because you can't go professional and play Dan in Street Fighter.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, you could. You just probably lose.
Yeah, you have to be really damn good.
Yeah. Really damn good.
No.
I think that was kind of it. To be honest, I was a little disappointed with the swag.
Oh, there was none.
Well, you stood in line for 20 minutes and signed up for Geico or whatever, and they gave you a bag. And if you're a policyholder like me, I got a fucking T-shirt. And then if you download the app, you get the little stuffed gecko. So, but yeah, in terms of like cool shit, I don't think there really was anything other than maybe like the Dauntless, closed beta codes, but that's not really swag.
No,
So,
that's not swag, but that was the coolest thing we got for free.
well, I will say this about the streaming panels. We got selfie sticks. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like, oh my God, I want to get a selfie stick, but I'm like, now that I have a selfie stick, I'm like, that's kind of cool, I guess.
I thought it was cool they were giving it away. I'm the same way. Like, I'm probably never going to use it, but it's cool that they were trying to give something that would be useful at a con.
Yeah, yeah. Because what's funny is immediately after we realized what they were, people were kind of pulling them out and using them right away. So I saw some people walking around the con with them, so that was cool. Well, I guess that'll do it for this episode. I've been Matthew.
And I've been Daniel.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Laters.
Peace.
Laters.
Peace.
Laters.
Peace.
Laters.
Peace.
Laters.
Peace.